All right, we are going to go ahead and get started here. We may have some people that join us a little late, but that is okay. Welcome to CompanyCam on desktop. My name is Bree. I'm going to be taking you through class today. This is going to be really desktop focused, so it might be more admin manager permissions if you're kind of breaking it into that category. We're going to talk a lot about how to utilize CompanyCam on purely the desktop side. We will hop into the app just so you can see a few things from what your team will see when they're in the field, looking at things like checklists. So we will have a little bit of app time, but just note we'll be on the desktop for the majority of our class today. We have got a full team supporting us as we go through our class today. With any questions that you guys may have, make sure you use that Q&A. Ask your questions in that Q&A. We'll make sure they get answered there. We've got Erin and Sarah from our support and customer success team, as well as Sammy and Chase. They will be here answering those questions for you in that Q&A. If you're having audio issues or have general comments, you can use the chat for that feature for those questions. So make sure you're using the Q&A to answer those questions. We'll make sure we can answer those as quickly and efficiently as possible. And if it does apply to the broader group, we can go ahead and answer that live. So keep your questions there and we'll get rolling through the agenda that we have for our class today. So as I mentioned, we are going to be working on CompanyCam from the desktop. This is going to be a little bit more admin manager focused. We're going to start with creating your projects in CompanyCam. We'll then get into how to share information or photos with customers out of CompanyCam. Talk about how to create reports and utilize the checklist piece to make sure your team is getting everything done at the job and taking all the photos that you need. We'll talk about collaborating, organizing your projects and photos with tags and labels, and then wrap up with our account management. So we've got a full agenda. We're going to dive right in. Let me minimize this presentation really quick. Get to, there we go. All right. So we're going to start with getting our projects created in CompanyCam. Again, your projects are where you're going to store all of your photos, your documents, anything particular to that job site will be stored within a project. So you'll never have anything floating on its own within CompanyCam. You can create your projects ahead of time. It's the most common workflow that we see with a lot of customers is setting up those projects before their team gets out into the job or out on site. In the app, they've got this nearby projects option. So those projects are going to pull up for them as they show up to the job location, which is a benefit of doing them ahead of time. You can always create these projects in the app if you prefer to have them create them on the go. But we'll hop in to create our project here. We are going to be taken to this kind of map page where we can type in the address that we're looking for. We also have the option to draw a geofence. This is great if you're working on a larger like complex, or if you are working in an area that isn't fully developed yet. Maybe you don't have the exact address. You can draw a geofence around that area and still create your project from that. You also have the ability to place a pin on your map and create your project from there, but we're going to go ahead and create a project by searching for that address. So once we're here, we can see where that project is being created from this pin in the map. On the right-hand side is where you're going to complete some additional project information. So you'll want to make sure that you give your project a name. Recommend coming up with a good naming convention that you can utilize across every project. This is helpful if maybe you aren't going to be the one that's always creating these projects. Having that common naming convention across your company or across your organization will make sure people aren't creating duplicates and working off of different projects, even though they should be in one. Since everything is named the same, they'll be easy to find and easy to search for as needed. So we'll do customer last name and first name. If you had an invoice number or quote number, that's also really helpful to put into that project name as well. In addition to that, if there is a project address too, so if you've got a suite number or an apartment number, you can add that in there as well. Make sure the rest of the city state information is correct, and we can go ahead and create our project. CompanyCam is cloud-based, so when we create this project on the desktop, it does show up in the app as well, and vice versa. So you'll always have that constant ability to check in or see where those projects are, no matter where they're being created or who's working on them. So we've got our first project created here. From here, we can start adding our photos, etc. build off of that. I'm going to pop back to our main projects page so we can dive into our next topic, which is sharing photos with customers. So I'm going to come into our Windows and Sightings project here. If you want to keep customers up to date with photos, or if they have questions, if you want to share damages that you came across within that particular project, you have a really easy way to share those particular photos out of CompanyCam without asking them to sign up for anything or log in. You can generate a link that you can share that includes the information or the photos that you want to share with them really simply from the desktop side. So again, I'm in my project already. We want to start within our project. As we scroll down, we are in our photo feed. We see all of the photos that have been taken today through the last few years that we've been working on this project. If you want to share any of these photos, all you need to do is hover over a particular photo. You'll see this checkbox in the top left corner. That is going to allow us to select the photos we would like to share. You also have the ability to choose an entire date range. So if you want to share all of the photos, let's say we want to share all of our photos from December 3rd, we can check that box. It highlights all of the photos under that date. It's like there's 25 that we can now share out with our customers. So this workflow here where we're selecting our photos is sharing a gallery of selected photos. So these 25 photos we're going to come up under share and click on our gallery option. It is going to ask if we want to include photo details. It's the who, when, and where those photos were taken. It won't be any additional information or descriptions that they will be adding. If there's annotations on top of the photo, that will show up, but it won't be the descriptive information. Up to you on if you want to share this photo detail information. We'll get our link to gallery, and now we've got this link that we can copy and paste into an email. If you're doing it in the app, you can send this out via text message. Got it copied here to our clipboard so we can paste it anywhere else. But if you do want to view what that gallery looks like for your customers, you've got an option there. They're going to see all 25 of those photos that we decided to share with them. We've got your company at the very top so they know who shared that with them. And then if they need to download those photos to their own device, they've got the option to do that through this link. Selecting the photos to share is by far the most popular way that we see customers share photos outside of CompanyCam. You do have the ability to share all photos that are within the project. If you want to share all photos, it's going to be a gallery link as well, just a gallery of all photos. You can do that under share and share all images. We'll ask the same question if you want to include those photo details. Get link to gallery. You now have a link that's going to include all 99 of the photos that are currently in this project that you'll then be able to share out with your customer. This version of the gallery link is stagnant. So the 99 photos that are in there are the only ones that are going to be included. When we go and take our 100th photo and so on, those will not be included. It'll just be the photos that are in the project at the time that you share that link. Now, if you wanted to keep a customer up to date with every photo that you take as you take them, you do have the option to share what we call our project timeline. So this will work as a live link. You could share this at the beginning of a job and tell your customer, hey, here is this link that's going to keep you up to date with all of the photos that we take as we work on this project. They can open that link daily, every few days, however often they decide to check back in on that project, and they will see any new photos that you've taken in that time frame. If you want to share that project timeline, it's going to be back under the share option at the top. And then your last option here is share project timeline. So as you can see, it gives us a link. Again, you do have the ability to email this, but this timeline is live. Got to break it up by date like we see in our project feed. As we add new photos, if we add photos from more today and tomorrow, every time they open this link, they'll see those new photos as they generate. You do have some abilities to kind of customize or really manage what customers are seeing when you share out a project timeline. So if you had photos that you wanted to hide, maybe you accidentally took a picture of your shoe while you were getting ready to take a picture of something else, you have the ability to hide that from your timeline so that's not something your customer sees. And reverse, if you had some photos that you want to hide until you're ready to share them, you have the ability to hide and unhide photos from your timeline. To do that, just hover over the photo and select it like we did when we were creating a gallery. Once that photo is selected, under Actions, you'll see the ability to hide or unhide in the project timeline. When we hide that photo, we're going to see this little circle or eye with a slash through it that's going to show us that that photo is hidden in the timeline. Again, meaning that it just won't show up when we are in our project timeline. So I'm going to refresh this link here and we can see that photo disappeared. It is no longer a part of our project timeline. If we wanted to unhide it, same process, we can select it and unhide it in our project timeline. Now, if you wanted to disable the project timeline in full, so maybe at the end of the job, you no longer want them to have continued access to all of those photos, back under the share option, you have the ability to disable that project timeline, which will cut off access to that link. So if they need it, if your customer needed photos or wants to see anything else, they'll just need to come to you, where you can then decide if you want to share the project timeline again, or if you want to create a gallery of those selected photos. So you're only sharing the photos that they're asking for, or the ones that you will deem, most important for them to keep from this job site. All right, any questions on sharing photos and the options there? Perfect. All right. So we talked about how to share photos as a link. Again, that's going to give you a really easy way to keep people up to date without, a ton of information. But if you wanted to add some more context to the photos that you're sharing, maybe you're sending it as a summary to the customer at the very end of the job, or if you're supplementing to insurance, you want a way to tell them exactly what's going on at that job site and provide some more context to those particular photos. That's where our reports really come into play. These reports give you an option to create a PDF where you can organize your photos through sections, gives you a cover page, so it's a little bit more professional, but also really importantly, gives you the ability to add a description to a photo or to an entire section in a report. So you can add that descriptive, that context information that's necessary when you're filing a claim or if you're providing that information to a customer. So these reports are available for everybody to view. Once you've got one created, you can always come back and edit that and utilize it, maybe use it as a living document so you can always continue to add to it. We'll go ahead and create a brand new report. Click on new report. We'll want to make sure we give it a title. And then we can choose our page layout. So you've got 2, 3, or 4 photos per page. Once we have this information set, we'll hit create report. If we decide we want to change the report title or the page number of photos per page, we have the ability to do that once that report's been created. All right, give me a second here. I think we need to reload. A lot of tabs up. I think my computer is running a touch slow. So give me just one moment here. All right. There we go. All right, so once we're in our report, we'll see we've got some options to manage right away. We've got this manage tab at the top, and under settings is where we can change our class name. If we wanted to change the report title, you can add a subtitle if you'd like. You do have your page layout options here, as well as some photo tags that you can turn on and off, depending on what information you'd like to share within that report. You'll also have a cover page, as I mentioned. If you've got your company logo uploaded, we will pull that on your cover page. So get your name out there, makes it look really professional. You also have an option for a cover photo, which we'll add once we get some photos into this report. Then you'll see some other settings that you can turn on and off, again, just depending on the information you'd like within your report. Then the first thing we'll do is add a section. So you can add as many sections as you'd like. Again, this helps break up the photos that you're adding into this report, makes it easy for whoever you're sharing this report with to digest the information. Maybe you want to break it up between damages and solutions, or it's a daily process. You've got a lot of different ways that you can organize those reports. So I'm going to change this first section to damages. We also have a section summary where you can add in any information that pertains to the photos that fall within this section, kind of at a general level. So if you wanted to explain what you saw, maybe there's pricing information, different damages that you want to list out at a high level before they get really, detailed with the photos that you've got in there. Great place to leave a lot of general information, maybe even a company statement. You've got some formatting options here if you want to bullet or list any of that information out, bold or italicized to really highlight what's important. You also have access to our text snippets, which is a great way to just kind of template out some text that you're maybe commonly using as you create your reports. So we'll throw one in here so we've got some information within our section summary. Now we can go in and start adding our photos. So since we're on the desktop, it's going to filter us to the project that we created this report from. In the app, you would have the ability to take photos on the spot and add those into the report. So they don't have to exist in the project if you're working in the app. You can take them on the spot. So from here, we can select the photos that we want to add. I am going to manually select a few here. Scroll down to some others that we want to pull in. All right, we'll add these 7 photos to our first section. You'll see next to each photo, you have an extra text or description area where you can click in, type in any additional information. You do have those same formatting options and text snippets available to you from the right-hand side when you're adding that description. But if you are already utilizing that description section when you're taking your photos and adding your information as you go, you have the ability to load those photo descriptions right into the report so you don't have to retype or copy and paste any of that information. That is going to live under your photo options in the top right. We'll see our third option is load photo descriptions. So we'll click on that. It is going to load every description that we have for these photos. So we don't need to retype that or try to copy and paste it. Speeds up that process of, again, getting that context into those photos that you need. Once we're done with this section, we can go back in, create a new section, pull our photos in, add our descriptions, follow that same process for as many sections as we need within our report. If you need to add additional photos to a section, you'll see there's a plus sign in between each photo so you can kind of organize where they live. Click in there, we'll give you the option to pull those additional photos in and load that common information. I'm going to set a cover page before we actually generate this report. So I'm going to hover my mouse over the photo that I want to be at my cover photo. We'll click to set that as our cover photo here. And then if we go back into our cover page, we'll get a quick preview so we know this is the one that we selected to just be displayed when we generate this PDF at the very top here. So now that we've got a report created, we can generate it as a PDF. That's going to give me an option to download it to my computer. This is the best process to go through if you are submitting that claim to insurance. They don't like those clickable link options. So this is why reports are handy. You can generate that report and attach that PDF via email. You do have the option, if you're sharing this with a customer and would prefer to send them a link, you have the option to share this report as a link as well. But we most commonly see this generated as a PDF. So I'm going to generate my PDF. Takes me to kind of a print preview screen so I can view what my report looks like before I fully download it. Gives me the option to hop back out and make some changes if needed. So we've got our cover page set. We can get to our first section and then see all of the photos that are a part of that with the descriptions that we've added. We'll download PDF. That will save to your computer wherever you decide to save that, so you can then attach that in an email, or you've got that nice copy to keep outside of the project that breaks that information down. And again, at any point, if we go back into our project, that report is going to be available for us under that report section. So if we needed to reshare it or re-download it or make any edits to it, it will always be available for us to edit for anybody else on our team that has access to this project to view. Any questions on reports?
We did have one question on maybe if you have an example of best use case for snippets or how folks tend to use those.
Sure. Yeah. So the question was around snippets, maybe best use cases for snippets or how people are utilizing them. I'm going to come back into one of my section summaries here and just pull up some of the lists that we have. So some that are really popular, we see a lot of people utilize this to template out text that you might be commonly using. So maybe you've got a list of things that you typically fill out for each report. Maybe it is like products used, date project started, materials that you need, any sort of bullet list like that is great to put into a snippet so you don't have to type some of that basic information in all the time, and you can really just fill in what's specific to that project that you're working on. So we've got a ton of examples in here. Some other standard ones that we see are just kind of liability information. So let me pull this one in here. This is just a paragraph of text that you might be commonly adding that outlines or, adds any legal information into that report that you need or want to add in, where you can just fill in what's specific to maybe the customer or the worker that's using it. You don't have to try to copy and paste or retype all of this information every time you create a report or add that new section. You can use your snippets in that capability. So any type of text that you're commonly using within your photos or within reports are great to create as text snippets. Will make it easy for everybody on your team to pull that information in, since everybody will have access to those. So if you add them, your whole team will have the ability to utilize those when they're creating those reports. Good question. All right. So after reports, we're going to get into checklists here. So we have a great way, checklists are a great way to make sure everybody is on the same page, no matter if they're in the office or on the field, making sure they know what needs to get done at a particular job site. And we'll also ensure you're getting all the photos that you need that tells that full story. This is a great way to also just get more information from the job site as you're working through that. Maybe you have a punch list or a list of things that you need to do, a form that you're filling out as you're walking through a job site that's capturing information. Maybe it's materials, it's damages, things that you're probably already checking on. Put that as a checklist in CompanyCam so you can work through that, take your photos there as well. And it's even something that you could utilize as a PDF to share an update with a customer as to what's going on. It's a great way to make sure you're getting all that information here. So I am just over in my checklist tab here. We can see all of the checklists that we have active in this particular project. From the admin or manager perspective, this is helpful so you can see what the progress is on each one. We'll also show you the last task, the last activity, and who was working on that. So you've got a great overview here as to how your checklists are being utilized within that particular project. So we've got a few ways to create these. With checklists, you can create a brand new one. If you're on our premium tier, you do have access to templates. So if you're using the same type of inspection checklist on multiple jobs, you can save that as a template and then have that available for your team to pull in for each project so you don't have to recreate a checklist. We'll come back and show you one of the templated checklists that we have in this project already, so you can kind of get a full overview here, but I do want to show you what it looks like to actually build out a checklist. So we'll click on our new checklist option, give it a title, and then from this checklist page is where we can actually start building out the task or the things that we need our team to work on. So you'll see right away, you've got an option to add a field, which is going to be an individual task, or you can even add a section, which is going to help organize the tasks that fall within this particular checklist. So we can even start and say, we have a pre-inspection section. We can add one for inspection and then a section for post-inspection. Makes it easier for us to organize the tasks that are falling into each category, and easy for our team to work through and kind of digest as they're working through that job site. So we'll start in a pre-inspection. We'll add a new field, which again is the task. From here, we'll want to add a title. We can say check for damages as the main thing that we're doing with this particular task. You have an area here under that task title to add any notes or instructions. So if there are specific things that you need your team to look for, or ways that you want to just make sure you're directing to orient them as to what they should be looking for or what type of photos they should be taking, you can add that in this notes or instructions area. So we'll say breaks, etc., to help them understand what we're looking for when we're looking for damages. For every task that you create, we also automatically turn on the photos required option. So you'll see this little tagged right here that in order to complete this task, they do need to add a photo before they can complete it. This toggle is on the right-hand side here. And again, we turn this on automatically for every task that you create. If you create a task that doesn't necessarily require a photo, you can always toggle that off so you don't have unnecessary photos in your project. So we've got our first task added. We know we want to add photos. Maybe there's some more information that we want to gather from this task as our team is working through that. We have some options to add some questions to these tasks as well. So we've got 4 options available: a yes or no, a rating scale, a text box for kind of an open response, and then a multiple choice option where you can input any particular option that may be a part of this task. Your team that's completing this can select one or multiple from that multiple choice. So a lot of different ways to pull some information out. We'll add a yes or no and can add a description to that question. We'll say, is there damage? We'll add a rating scale for severity of damage as well. So with questions added, those also need to be answered before a task can be completed. So in this task, we've kind of got the dual purpose or accountability here. They've got to be able to answer those questions as well as take those photos. So you've got kind of extra accountability that you're getting everything that you need with those 2 options in there. The last thing I'll point out when you are creating these tasks is you have the option to add some reference images. So if you've got a new crew member, or maybe you're working through a new process, if you want to add some images so they know what type of photo they should be taking or what they're looking for, you have the ability to add up to 5 reference images per task that give them an idea of what it looks like to properly complete this field. So they can view that from the app and take a look at what those photos are before they go in and actually start taking those particular photos. So that's how you build out a checklist. We'll follow that same process for as many tasks that you have within all of your sections here. I do want to pop over to the app really quick and show you what that might look like for your team in the field. Search for our Windows Insight here. All right, so, oh, is that updating? Can you see my phone? Is it showing Windows Insight?
Frozen.
Good to know. All right, give me 1 second. We're gonna restart that. Okay, we're back. Okay, so I'm going to go into my checklist here. There's that checklist that we just created. I'm going to tap to open that up. And again, if I'm in the field, I see this task. I see that there are photos required, so I know I need to take a photo. I can also answer my questions here. So we'll say yes. We're going to say it's a 3. The last thing we need to do is take our photo. If we try to check that off, it is going to kick us an error that we either have questions to answer or have photos that we need to add as well. I'll tap on our camera icon here. It gives me the ability to take photos so they can open this checklist and work through this to take their photos when they get to the job site. They can add photos that already exist in the project, or if they have photos that live in their camera, maybe they forgot to use CompanyCam for a day, they can always upload those back into the app from their camera roll. So we'll add in some photos that already exist in our project here. We'll hit add, and now we can check that task off. From the management perspective here, it does turn green, so we know it's done, but also gives us a date, timestamp information, as well as a name of who completed that task. So we've got a great overview of is it getting done, what tasks are completed, and who's actually working on that checklist. So we can make sure we can keep our team accountable here. All right. Any questions on using or creating checklist?
We're getting everything answered in the chat.
Perfect. Awesome. I know we are right at time here. I want to run through one last thing as far as account management, just to give you an idea. You have the ability to manage your account. So if you're adding new users, or maybe you've had some turnover, need to get some new people in and clean out your user list, you have the ability to do that from your account. Under users is where you'll get a full list of everybody that's included in your current subscription or all your active users. You can change permission sets from here. If you had turnover and need to deactivate anybody, you can do so, or invite your new team for access into CompanyCam from this page as well. If you need to update any of your billing information or want to double check what subscription am I on, maybe you're interested in templates and don't know if you have access to premium, you can check that billing information under your initials. And under billing, it's going to give you a great idea as to what subscription you're on, how many users you have, are you paying annually or monthly, when's your next payment. If you need to update your payment method from a credit card or an ACH, you've got options to do that here. You'll also see any other add-ons that we had available here as well. So that's the account management aspect that I wanted to point out really quickly. I know since we're over time, we're going to see if there's any other questions that we need to answer live.
Any other questions that you can provide?
Okay.
I think we should be done.
Awesome. All right. In that case, I do want to let you know about what we've got coming up here. Whoops. Keep clicking on the wrong button. All right, so quickly with some resources. We obviously threw a lot at you today. You will get a recording of this class that you can share with your team if anybody wasn't able to make it or if somebody had to leave early. We'll send you this recording via email so you have access to this. But you also have a lot of great resources at your hand to make sure you're getting the most out of CompanyCam. We've got chatting with our support team, or you can email them. We've got great Spanish resources that are here as well. This is really helpful. We even have some Spanish classes. So if you have a lot of Spanish workers or primarily Spanish speaking employees, utilize these resources to help them get the most out of CompanyCam as well. For other classes, or if you want to keep up to date with everything that we're doing with classes, head to companycam.com/classes. You'll find registration links for upcoming classes as well as any pre-recorded classes. Maybe you wanted to check out our class on AI and weren't able to go. You'll find that video linked there for you to watch, as well as some YouTube how-to videos linked as well. Got a great help site for resources that are tutorials. You can find that while you're actually logged in. You'll see a resources center there, but you also have a dedicated customer success manager. So if you have additional questions, maybe you want a more personalized training for your team or have questions on the subscription that you're on, reach out to your customer success manager. If you're unsure who your contact is, send an email to success@companycam.com. We'll make sure you get connected with the right person who will be in touch with you to answer any questions that you have or set up any personalized training for you and your team to get the most out of CompanyCam. Lastly, our very last class of the year. We have everything we launched in 2024 coming next Wednesday, December 11th at 11 a.m. Central. We are going to go through everything that we've launched over this last year to make sure you didn't miss anything before we wrap up for 2024. If you want to register for this class, again, head to companycam.com/classes to register. We look forward to seeing you next week for this class. Any last questions before we call it a day? Awesome. All right. We will finish answering the questions that we have in that Q&A in the chat. Thanks everybody again for joining us today, for spending some time with us to go over CompanyCam on desktop. We look forward to seeing you in the next class.